Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am going to show you guys the basics of what you need to get out and deer hunt. Earlier this year, I did a budget bow setup video, and I'll put a link to that video up here for you guys to check that out if you're interested. But if you guys are just interested in starting to get into deer hunting, probably a firearm is going to be your best bet. One, it's more cost effective and it's less labor intensive. So this gun here was $375 out the door. That's with the scope mount, and the rifle. The only thing I had to buy outside of that was a couple boxes of ammo. So I'm going to go over other equipment that you guys might need. Talking about knives, we're going to talk about rangefinders and what we use these for and why I think they're an essential part of the modern whitetail hunter's kit. And then things like bags and camouflage, we're also going to talk about that. So this is going to be the first shots out of this gun. I'm starting by sighting in at about 30 or 40 yards. I have a piece of cardboard down there on a fence post, nothing fancy. And then out at about 125 yards, I actually have a box with a little white piece of tape I'll be shooting at. You guys are going to want hearing protection, of course, and eye protection as well. I'm going to explain to you why I'm going to zero at 200 here once I get this gun sighted in. Well, we're already really close, so that's good. All right, we have a 100-yard target down there. I'm going to take a couple of shots, and then I'm going to go down and check the target and see where I'm impacting to get this gun zeroed, because I did not set up my spotting scope. I need to come a little to the left. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2. We'll call it there. So I want a 200-yard zero, because at 300 yards, the bullet should drop between 7 and 8 inches, which on a whitetail is basically holding your crosshairs high on the shoulder, almost on the back line, and that bullet will drop right into the vitals. And at 100 yards, it might be 1.5 inches high. With this gun, it doesn't have dialing turrets, and it doesn't have a ballistic drop calculator in the reticle. All it has is a single crosshair. So I'm going to shoot this to about 300 yards, and that's going to be probably the max of this gun. So now I'm going to shoot 3 shots, go down there and check my zero and make an adjustment. And in probably one more round of shooting, we should have our 200-yard zero. All right. So my adjustments were almost perfect. Right down here, I have a nice, neat little, about a 2-inch 3-shot pattern. I was holding right here. I am going to give it 1 click down and 1 click to the left. That's a win on that little rifle. In the next segment of this video, I'm going to talk more about the other gear that we're using and why I'm using it and why I think it's essential. I'm going to keep my list short to the bare minimum of what I think you should have with you to get out there and hunt. So along with a reliable firearm, there's some other gear that you're going to need as well. First, and most importantly, you're going to need a hunting license. In order to obtain the hunting license, you may need to take a hunter safety course in your state. So take a look at the hunting regulations in your state and make sure that you're doing everything by the book. Along with a hunting license, during firearm season, every state I can think of requires you to wear hunter orange. That may mean wearing a hunter safety vest or a blaze orange cap like I have on here. Safety should be your #1 priority when you're getting out in the deer woods. Now, some additional gear that you're going to need for your deer hunt is going to include a good knife. Once you put that deer on the ground, you're going to need to field dress it, and if you're processing it at home, the knife selection becomes even more important. Currently, my favorite deer hunting knife is the classic Buck 110 folding knife. Some other knives that I've processed deer with would be fixed blade knives, custom made or store bought. I have even processed an entire deer with a pocket knife, just like this one you see here. I bought it at Walmart for $2.97. Now, is this going to be a valuable long-term tool? No, probably not. But if you can get it sharp and keep it sharp, you can work your way through a deer with a pocket knife like this, no problem. Now, another essential piece of gear is going to be a light. A lot of times when we get out deer hunting, we're going in before light, and we might be coming out after light. So you're going to need a headlamp, a flashlight, or some combination of the two. At this point, if you're hunting small private property, you might be completely set with the list that we've already come up with. But if you're going to get out there and hunt public land or hunt deep into a large private parcel, you're probably going to need something to carry a little extra gear with you. Some form of gear bag is going to be important. My personal preference is to carry a small bag like this chest kit, and I've done a more full review of this bag on my channel. I'll put the link up here. But something like this carries just enough gear for me to get in and get out on those day hunts without having to carry a whole lot extra with me. On the outside of this bag, I have a rangefinder. Now, a rangefinder may not be an essential piece of kit for you, but it is one that I highly recommend. An example of a hunting situation you may not need this is if you know you're going to be hunting in thick timber on a creek bottom or out in a field where you have known distances. You're just not going to need to range those things to find an ethical shot. But for guys who are hunting more in the Midwest or in wide open areas, you may want to pick up a rangefinder to help you make sure that you're taking responsible shots. Now, inside this bag is another essential piece of gear, and that's some first aid equipment. I have a elastic tourniquet in here. This is the rat's tourniquet. I also carry cat's tourniquets, but having something to stop major blood loss is, in my opinion, an essential piece of kit to a hunt. Now, another piece of essential kit is going to be some type of cordage. I usually keep 25 to 30 feet of paracord with me at all times. I've used this to make a deer drag harness, and I typically use it to get my gear up the tree if I'm hunting in a tree stand. Now, as far as gear in my chest bag goes, that's about it. I can put my lights, my knives, my cordage, my deer calls, snacks, or hydration in a bag like this, and I can go. Now, let's say you're going to be hunting a little further back in the woods and you need more gear with you. If you're bringing in extra hydration, snacks or meals, and extra clothing, a bag like this is going to be essential for you. This is a fairly large internal frame bag offered by Code of Silence. It has a ton of different compartments on the side, a large main compartment, and multiple external compartments to carry my gear safely. These straps on the outside of the bag are great for strapping extra clothing or layers to the outside of the bag that I might need to access when I get into my hunting location. Now, the last consideration you might need to make for essential gear is the type of clothing you're going to wear. That's going to vary by the season you're hunting in and the weather conditions, but there's a lot to be said for having clothing that's specifically designed for hunting. Now, Code of Silence is a channel partner, so you're going to see a lot of their gear featured through my hunting videos. I'm happy to support this company because I think they offer a great product at a good price point, but that price point's going to vary for everybody, especially when you're just getting into hunting. We all have stories of grandpas hunting in blue jeans or overalls with a flannel jacket on, and there's no doubt you can kill a lot of deer dressed that way. But having hunting clothing that is built for the elements and drives efficiency into your hunting practices can be a huge benefit. You're just going to have to weigh the cost and benefit to that for yourself. Another piece of kit that might be helpful to the new shooter is a shooting bipod or tripod. But outside of using a bipod, just standing up and finding a good rest against the side of a tree is an extremely effective way to limit the amount of gear you need to take with you and still take an ethical shot. So for the average whitetail deer hunter, that's the gear that I think is going to be essential to take into the field with you. So now that we have our rifle sighted in and all of our gear selected, I'm going to get out there in the woods and try to show you guys a successful whitetail hunt. All right, good morning. It is November 29th, I believe. It is, no, it might be the 30th. It's Saturday after Thanksgiving, and we're coming out to the property I shot that 8-point buck on a couple weeks ago with my brother. Say hi.
Howdy.
And to try to wrap up this beginner's deer hunting video, I brought a beginner. He shot his first deer with me last year, and there's a great hunt. I'll put the tag to that video up here. But he's going to be shooting the new Creedmoor rifle, and I'm going to shoot my old one. We're going to go sit in a creek bottom and keep an eye over the creek bottom and the sides of the ridge. And there's several deer trails that coincide in that area with a lot of traffic. So if the deer are moving, we should get some eyes on something this morning. It's a little different than the terrain I've been hunting the last couple of days, which has been field edges and pinch points. And I've seen a lot of deer, but just nothing I'm quite willing to hang my last tag on. So hopefully we have a little more of an eager shooter with us this morning who will put something down for the video. Anyways, we're gonna start heading back there here in a couple of minutes, and Lord willing, we'll get a deer here before too long. Yes, you can. You definitely can. They're about to pop out. Do you hear them? Okay. So right now they're right behind that maple tree for you, but they're about to come out right down here in the bottom. Alright, now here's one. He's about to be in your view. He's in the pine trees. She's just walking in a circle. Okay. It's not far. Yeah, she's eating some. No, stay where you are. I've got her in the camera. Just wait till you see her. That's fine. Alright, she turned. She's coming this way. When you see her to the right, when you see her, stop her and shoot her. Alright, look, they're down there now. Stop her and kill her when you can. Alright, adjust. Adjust. Don't play with it. There's one down here and there's one up there in the pines. Which one do you see? Okay. Shoot the one you see. Stop her when you see her. There's like 4 of them, dude. Do you see one? When you get a clear shot, say hey and shoot her. You have to just see it and then stop it and shoot it. Look, there's another one coming up. Sit up more. Here, there's one more coming out of the pines. Do you see it? Okay. Stop her and shoot her when you can. Here comes one more. There's a big doe coming. Do you see it?
Hey!
Kill it. That boy. That boy. My GoPro battery died because it's too cold, but he just got it. There were like 5 does in a string there. If I see another one here, I'm gonna shoot it in a second. Hey, hey, hey! Oh my goodness. That's all right. Keep shooting. You did good. Here's your stick. So there were 6 does come down off of that field. And thankfully he got a shot at the last one. And they were right here below us, gonna come bed up on this ridge, right where we're sitting. And they all came running down here. and I could have punched my last tag, but in the scramble, I was looking behind them to see if a buck might be moving with them too, and they just got away. But that's all right, because we got one on the ground and we got plenty of time left this morning. That's a deer. Yeah. You're behind us, that doe. There's a deer behind us. Don't move.
I'm very grateful that I have dropped both deer that I've shot.
Oh yeah, no tracking needed. It was great. Perfect. We are going to get down there and go field dress that deer. So I'm going to show you how to field dress a deer literally in the field. My favorite way to do it is to take them whole back home and put them up on my gambrel and gut them hanging upside down. But if you're in the field, I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we're going to get out of here. Oh, she's a great doe. Very good one. That's a big one.
Nice.
Not bad at all. Right there, right in the shoulder. Right where you needed to hit her. Yeah, boy. They thought they were pretty well hidden here. And we were really well hidden. You can't see us up there on that hill. That's a great spot. Boy. Alright, let's get to work. So, we got our buck 110. This is the pocket knife that I keep with me when I'm hunting most often. And we've stripped down a little bit here to take care of this deer. We're just going to do a basic field dress. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. We have a slight slope here, headed down here in this creek bottom. So what I'm going to do is put the deer's head up the slope and the rear end coming down the slope. Because as I'm working on this, I want gravity to be helping me get the blood and the guts away from the animal's carcass as quickly as possible, just to keep the meat as clean as possible. Now we have a great shot on this doe right through the front shoulder, so there shouldn't be any gut material exposed to the meat right now. So I'm expecting no meat loss and a real clean intestinal cavity. So first thing I'm going to do here is flip her around, get the head up and the feet down. She is fat and chunky and healthy. When I'm by myself, if I'm on a real steep embankment, I will tie a rope around the neck and tie it off to a tree so it doesn't slide down the hill. Or if he's got antlers, hook the antlers around a tree base or something like that. But with this doe here, it's not super steep. We're gonna get started. The first thing I'm gonna do, I'm holding this deer between my feet, okay? And my first cut on a deer that I'm not gonna shoulder mount, I don't need to worry about preserving the cape. This would be different if you're gonna shoulder mount the deer. In that case, I highly recommend either having your processor do it or a taxidermist do it. But what I'm gonna do is find the sternum and find where it ends, okay, which is right here. And we have the gut cavity here, and up here's the chest cavity, and this is the end of the sternum. I'm going to take my knife and edge facing me, come in under the hide and come straight up the sternum. Okay, so I'm exposing this, and then blade facing down, I'm going to gently cut. We don't have to force it. I'm letting the edge do the work. I'm gently coming down to where that sternum is. You can hear it against my knife. Okay, I'm gonna turn my knife, come blade side again. If you want, you can flip around the deer and work cutting away from you, but I've done this a lot. What I'm gonna do, take my knife, and now we're coming down over top of the guts. And what I'm gonna do is take my knife edge, and I'm gonna just slip underneath the hide. We don't want to puncture the guts with the tip of our knife. So all I'm doing here is just, you can see there's layers of fat on this deer. Super healthy deer. Okay, I have just cut through the hide, the fat, and the abdominal wall, and I am just now, here's the stomach behind it. I've taken my 2 fingers and I've got underneath all those layers of flesh, and I'm edged down, okay, towards the guts, and you can see as you cut, you're opening up that abdominal wall and the hide, but I'm not cutting any guts. All I'm doing here is using my hand as a barrier, and I'm cutting in between my fingers. So here's our guts coming out, and I'm just easing my way down all the way to between the legs here. Now once I get down here between the legs, I have to open these hips a little bit. And this is where having a partner can help. If you don't have a partner, you're gonna have to wrestle with it a little bit. So what I'm gonna do, with this hand I'm holding this leg out. I'm gonna step over this foot right here, and I'm pinning it underneath my knee and my hamstring, and my other knee is gonna keep this deer's leg apart. As these guts want to come out, just help them. Let them get out of your way. We've got no blood in here because it was a great shot, and I have a nice open abdominal wall to work with. I'm going to take the udder of this doe and cut around it. She has no milk in her. She didn't have any fawns. And now I'm going to cut down in between these legs, in between these hips. Okay, we don't want to cut on either side of these hips. We want to cut right in the middle, because in here's a lot of meat and we want to preserve that. So I'm just going to take it down to the pelvis, right in between the thighs, the inner thighs of this deer. Right here is a bone. That there is your pelvis. Okay, this is very simple. Now we have the deer open all the way. What we have to do now, take this leg over and fold it back over the deer, and I have to take the vent or the rectum out of this doe. On a buck, his genitals are on the outside up here in between the legs, and all you have to do is basically cut around those and remove them. On a doe, you have the vent and the female genitalia up here as well. So don't be bashful. You're gonna have to get in here with your knife, lift the tail, clear some of the hair away. Here's our vent, anus. We're just gonna cut around it, okay? A sharp knife is gonna help here a lot. You don't want to cut too much towards the meat here, because if you puncture that vent, you want as much as you can to keep the contamination with any of your meat to a minimum. So you might have to flip it back over a time or two to get the other side. Again, you're just going to have to get in here and do it. And there's a cavity up there between the legs in the middle of that pelvis that you can get your knife up through. You can see I've got my hands on it. You're just gonna have to. And we have this pretty well opened up. We're gonna go around the edge of that cavity and make sure we free up that tissue. Now when we flip this deer back over, we should be just about ready to pull all of that out. You can see it's moving outside of the deer. If you look down here as I pull, it's coming out. Okay? Now you might need to take your knife and help free up some of the tissue around the abdominal wall, but for the most part, if you use your hands, you can separate it from the backside of that deer. This deer has a ton of fat. It's really kind of blocking what I'm trying to show you, but it is not hard to get in here and tear this off just with your hands. Now this is where that slope is going to come in handy, because I can very easily throw the guts downhill and work with the deer that's clean as it remains uphill. Okay, now we have the guts separate from the deer. At this point, I'm going to take my knife and come up here to the chest cavity again. So I'll have you stand around here. We're going to come back to the chest cavity. I'm going to take my knife underneath that sternum. Having a good strong knife here will help. You do not have to split the sternum, but I prefer to. If you don't want to, get your knife, work around the diaphragm on both sides of the rib cage, and pull your hands up in there, grab above the heart, and pull everything out. That's how you do it if you're going to cape a buck and not split the sternum as well. But I prefer to split the sternum. Take my knife right up the seam of these ribs. It's not very hard once you find it. And we're just going to open that chest cavity right up, and it makes clearing out the diaphragm a lot easier. And then you're going to take your knife above the heart and the lungs and cut crossways across the esophagus. Once you get that split, reach in there and grab it. And his bullet went right through here, so things are pretty mangled, but once you pull all that out, man, it gets easy. We'll take out this diaphragm because it's holding things together. And there you have it, guys. Let that drain, get all the blood, and it'll be kind of coagulated. You're going to want that to all be separate. Get this fat out of here. Kind of clean it up for yourself a little bit. Now you can see my hands are a little messy. Okay, it's gonna happen. You can bring gloves if you want them. This is part of deer hunting. You're just gonna have to get over this part of it. Once you do a few of them, it'll become like second nature. If we weren't filming, this deer would have taken me about 3.5 minutes to complete. And you pick it up just like this and let it all drain. Put the head uphill. Now this deer is field dressed, ready to throw in the back of your truck and take home. If you want to wipe it out a little more, that's fine. I highly recommend not spraying a deer out unless you've gut shot it. If you, you introduce water to the body cavity of this deer, you're going to spread bacteria as it splashes around. The best thing you can do if you want to clean it out, instead of spraying it out with like a hose, you can take a cup of cold water and rinse it gently, and take some rags, some shop rags that you don't care about, and wipe it out if you really want to. Otherwise, the blood that has touched the different parts of this animal, while it may be carrying some bacteria, it's not spreading around the deer as much as it would if you sprayed out with a hose. So we have a really clean deer here anyways, which is awesome. So we're going to pick some of this fat off of here to help the meat cool down as quickly as possible. And we're just going to clean it up a little bit before we go get the truck. Now, if you guys want to see how to process a deer at home, I have another video on the channel. I'll put the link up here, and you guys can see how to do one of these at home all yourself. It's a really rewarding experience. You can share it with friends and family, and know that you did everything from the field to the table. It's an excellent skill to learn to get a little more self-reliance. It'll really boost your confidence, especially as you get more in your hunting career as well. But this deer is ready to go to a processor or go home to butcher as it is right now. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video of beginner's guide to deer hunting. You guys, the best thing you can do is get out there and spend some time in the woods. Nothing beats time in the woods as far as gaining experience on how to deer hunt. There's a lot of different tricks of the trade. There's a lot of advice you're going to get from different people, but you need to find where the deer are. That process is the hardest part. Then get out there, spend some time in the woods, and be grateful for your time in the woods. It should always remind us that we have a creator who loves us enough to give us beautiful places to experience and enjoy, and wonderful sources of food that we can take part in as well. So as always, guys, I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching, and God bless.